Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Asfa Kistina binti Muhammad Najri, and I'm from JBA 1145J. Today, I would like to present about Introduction to Bonds. First of all, what are bonds? Bond is a long-term fixed income in which the issuer has agreed to pay fixed income payments for a specific period and to repay a fixed amount of principal at maturity to the bondholder. There are three parties in bonds, which is issuer of bonds, bond underwriters, and buyer of bonds. The example of issuer of bonds is government and their agencies, corporation, commercial banks, and foreign institutions. Next, bond underwriters is primary dealers and investment banks. Lastly, the example of buyer of bonds is government, pension funds, insurance companies, and mutual funds. So basically, what is issuer of bonds? The issuers sell bonds or other debt instruments in the bond market to fund the operation of their organizations. Moreover, the biggest of these issuers is the government, which uses the bond market to fund a country operations such as social program and other necessary expenses. Next, it will be bond underwriters. The underwriting segment of the bond market is made up of investment banks and other financial institutions that help the issuer to sell the bonds in the market. In general, the need for underwriters is greatest for the corporate debt market because there are more risks associated with this type of debt. Lastly, buyer of bonds. The final players in the market are those who buy the debt that is being issued in the market. Individual investors do not normally participate in the bond market because the bonds are usually sold over the counter in large amounts. There are four characteristics of bonds, which is maturity, coupon rate, tax status, and callability. Maturity is the date on which a bond matured, and when the bond matures, the principal of the bond must be repaid to the bondholder. Coupon rate is the coupon amount represents interest paid to bondholders, normally annually or semi-annually, and it is generally fixed. Tax status is when the majority of corporate bonds are taxable investment and some government and municipal bonds are tax exempt, while callability is when some bonds can be paid off by an issuer before maturity, and callable bonds also appeal to investors as they offer better coupon rate. Now I will discuss on the advantage and disadvantage of issuing bonds. The advantage of issuing bonds is it is cheaper than issuing shares. When a company sells new shares, the value of its existing shares is diluted. Since shareholders take more risk than bondholders, shareholders require a higher rate of return than the bondholders. The disadvantage of issuing bonds is debt level increase equal to risk increase equal to increased cost of capital. If a company borrows too much money and it is no longer able to pay back its lender, it might have to raise even more capital or go to bankrupt. We will move on to the advantage and disadvantage of investing. The advantage of investing is it can be traded even before maturity, and disadvantage of investing is bond rates lower than dividend rates. Lastly, I'm going to discuss about issues related to bonds. The Malaysian bond market experienced its 7th straight month of net foreign inflow in November 2020 at 1.9 billion, led by MGS and GII at 2.7 billion, said RAM Ratings September High. In a statement, the agency said solid foreign appetite raised the year-to-date inflow by 25% year-on-year to 14.8 billion as at the end of November. Foreign holdings as a percentage of total bonds outstanding rose to 13.6%, the highest level since January 2020. This was underpinned by improving sentiments and yield hunt amid low global interest rates. That's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening and stay safe.